So I was teaching high school math, y'all, and I was not thinking additively or multiplicatively. Now, I wasn't so much counting, I was more memorized. All of my facts were memorized, and so I wasn't really using counting strategies, but I didn't have additive thinking, I didn't have multiplicative thinking. So I picked up this great book. It's Susan Lamont is the author, and it's called Teaching Fractions and Ratios for Understanding. And the first chapter says, do you reason proportionally? And I was like, of course I do. I am a high school math teacher, I am the god of math. Right? That is kind of how we think about ourselves. You know that high school math teacher that thinks that way about themselves? I'm a high school math teacher, I can say that. So I thought to myself, of course I think proportionally. Now, the first thing said, do these 10 problems. You cannot set up a proportion across multiply and divide. You have to reason your way through it. You have to explain how you're reasoning. And I read the first problem, and I skipped the first problem. And I read the second problem, and I skipped the second problem. I just realized that, yeah, that's hard to see. I'll change my pen color just a minute. Sorry about that. That better. And I continued on through those 10 problems, and holy snort, I couldn't do any of them. I did not reason proportionally. So I picked up Kathy Fosno's work, this is right about that same time, I picked up her work and I started reading about thinking additively. And I taught myself how to think additively. At the same time, I read her multiplication book and her fraction book, and I was like, yeah, these aren't as good. They're not very good. So I went back to the addition book, and I did a lot of work with my kids' teachers. So if you saw the picture of my kids earlier, how I got into elementary math was I did all that reading, and then I went into my kids' classrooms, and I said, hey, can I try some stuff with your kids? I mean, Eleanor was like, please, can I just experiment? Because I don't really know. I'm just reading this stuff, and can I just... And well, for the most part, I had wonderful kids' teachers. They said, sure, weird parent, come on in. Yes, please don't take a whole lot of time and don't get them off track. But yeah, you can take a little time. Well, then pretty soon we all were learning together, and in fact, I'll give honor to Kim over there. Kim, wait for your hand. Kim was one of the very first teachers. When I went into my 2nd and 4th grade kids class, and I said, hey, you want to try some stuff with me? She heard, it was like, I want in. I was like, okay, random 3rd grade teacher, come on in. And so we all started working together. And as we were working, where was I going with this? It was a really good story. How was I talking about? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm reading this really great book about thinking about addition and subtraction and realizing I can't think proportionally, so I sort of set that aside. That's what I do when I'm uncomfortable with something. I just sort of put it aside. And I kind of ignore that it exists. Okay, that's great. Kind of like when I was learning algorithms and someone would say, hey, you know, in your mind you could do this thing, and I would go, yeah, I don't get that. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm just going to do my nice memorized thing that I have over here. And that was my comfort zone, and I was happy to do it. Though secretly I was jealous of those mathy people that could do that stuff in their head. And now I can. And the exciting thing is we all can. We all can be that numeracy person. Granted, I'm a little slower than some of those guys, but I'm okay with that because I can. I'm okay with the fact that I'm a little slower, because I can think numerically. So I'm reading this addition and subtraction book. I read the multiplication and the fraction, I was like, yeah, they're not as good. I worked with my kids' teachers, and I got really good at additive thinking. And I thought, maybe I should pick up that multiplication book again. My kid was now getting into older grades where I got to start multiplying. And so now that I could think additively, oh my gosh, that multiplication book was awesome. It was so good. I was like, wow, you can totally think about numbers multiplicatively. And I got really excited about it. I couldn't understand. I was like, why did I think it was bad earlier? I don't know, whatever. And so then I really worked with my kids' teachers thinking multiplicatively. I took a look at that fraction book again, and I was like, yeah, it's bad fraction book. And I put it down. I taught myself to think multiplicatively as I worked with my kids' teachers, and I picked back up the fraction book. Guess what? Oh my gosh, it was so good! It was amazing how we can think proportionally. Fractions are proportional beings. So if you can't think multiplicatively, fractions don't make as much sense. You can't reason about fractions if you're not thinking multiplicatively, because you've got to reason proportionally in order to make fractions make sense. To me, that is really noteworthy about my journey. Some of you are much faster. Some of you are going to be able to sit through additive thinking and really, oh, hey, I can think proportionally today. Well, I'm jealous of you because you're faster than I am. But my point is, we all can. We all can think that way.